Welcome to Lemaar. Today I would like to demonstrate the installation of the new Lemaar L-Series entry lock. Included with the Lemaar L-Series entry lock are simple step-by-step installation instructions and an installation template for the preparation of the holes in the door. The installation template is folded and placed on the door to ensure the correct layout of the holes required for the installation of the lock. It is very important to make sure that the installation template is the correct way up. Mark the holes on the door and then double check before drilling the holes. I have pre-prepared the holes in my door and marked the outside and the inside faces of the door for demonstration purposes. Let's begin the installation process by installing the latch body in the door. There are two very important points to note regarding the latch body. The first point is that the half moon cutout, which is here in the latch body, must always point to the floor. This is critical. So just to repeat, that the half moon cutout in the bottom of the latch body must always point to the floor. The second point is that the head of the latch can be rotated to ensure the chamfer is pointing in the direction that the door closes. To rotate the head of the latch body, if you need to change that orientation, apply a screwdriver to the small half head screw here and rotate it through 180 degrees. You can then rotate the latch body head as such, and then rotate the small screw back through 180 degrees to then tighten the latch head back to the latch body. The latch body can now be installed in the door. On my door, the half moon cutout points to the floor and the chamfer face points in the correct direction because my door closes in that direction. Knowing this, I can now confidently proceed to the next step. I am now ready to install the cylinder body halves. Let's have a careful look at the cylinder body halves. The first thing to note is that the spindle drive hole must always be at the bottom. Note that this applies to both sides of the door. The second thing to note is there is a small cam in each cylinder body, and this small cam has a round edge and a straight edge. The round edge must always contact the die cast body, so that is in the correct position. I'll show you that on the other one. The round edge in this one must also contact the die cast body, so that is in the correct position prior to installation. I am now ready to install the cylinder halves, remembering to always start from the outside of the door. I need to choose the one with a straight edge pointing to the hinge line. Remembering that that is always at the bottom and it is installed to the door in that orientation. So if I just rotate that back, you'll notice that the straight edge is pointing away from the hinge line, so I've actually picked up the wrong cylinder body half. The correct one is this one, with that at the bottom and the cam, the straight edge of the cam, pointing towards the hinge line. So that is the correct one to install to the outside of the door. I'll just repeat that again. It is very, very important that the straight edge there on that small cam faces the hinge line. So that is now ready to install to the door. If I turn that around, you can see the orientation of the cam in relation to the latch body. The next step is to apply the nuts and bolts that tie the two cylinder bodies halves together. And I can place the nut accordingly, just screw that back. And I'll grab the other one and I'll just drop that there. Always place the nuts on the outside of the door. I can then go to the inside, and looking at my cylinder body that I'm going to apply on the inside, you'll notice that there again that the straight edge is pointing towards the hinge line, so that is the correct one to install. Drop that straight on there. I can then take the main tie bolt screws, pop that one in there, and pop that one in there down at the bottom, and take my screwdriver with my finger on the nut on the other side and tighten those up. So I'll just tighten that one up. It's okay. And my finger on the nut on the other side, and I can tighten that one up. Okay, that's nice and tight. Yes, that's nice and tight. Now, before proceeding any further, I would just like to double check the operation of the cylinder. So from the inside with a key, yes, that's correct. Yep, not a problem. And I'll then go to the other side and I can double check that. Yep, that's fine. Not a problem. So I can now proceed to the next step. I am now ready to install the main plates and handles. Always start from the outside of the door. There are two main plates and handles. Starting from the outside of the door, I now need to choose the right plate and handle to apply to the door. There is no decision to be made here other than choosing the plate and handle which points in the right direction. So the hinge line is here, the handle always points to the hinge line, so that is the correct plate. You'll notice that if I applied this one, it points in the wrong direction, points away from the hinge line, so I'm obviously not going to use that one. So having determined which one I'm going to apply to the door, starting from the outside, I can now apply the main fixing posts to the outside plate, and they simply screw in there. There's the other one. And I give those a nice tighten to make sure that they're nice and tight in place. Okay, it's important that you do that. Make sure that they're really nice and tight. Tighten those with a screwdriver. I can now apply this assembly to the outside of the door. I can set it in place and then proceed to the inside of the door. It just simply drops on there like that. I will now prepare the inside plate and handle. Firstly, install the privacy button, and that is the privacy button. And that goes in that small hole there, which I'll just drop it in there and install that. And that just simply spins on as such. That's it. And you do not need to over tighten that. That's the first step. Then install the main rotor, and that's the rotor. And you'll notice with the rotor that it has two small ears, and those ears always point upwards. So that drops in there like that. So that is the correct installation of that. And I then need to install the main drive spindle which sits at the bottom, and that is the main drive spindle which sits at the bottom. It's very, very important to note here that there is a short side and a long side and a small cutout in the middle. The short side is the side that is applied to the plate. You can see that the cutout is parallel with that face, or in line with that face. So just to repeat that, there is the spindle. The short side is the one that goes into the drive plate. So that's now ready to install to the door. Before doing so, you need to place a small spring here in that drive hole there. So I have dropped the spring in that hole, and just to demonstrate that, if I take the spindle which is going to be inserted there, you can see that that now springs back and forth because I've dropped the spring in that hole. Okay, and you'll also notice that the long side of the spindle is inserted into that hole. Okay, I'll just do that again so you can see that that's sitting there quite comfortably. That's very, very, very important. So I'll just drop that back in place, short side in the main plate, and that assembly is now ready to install to the door. So the next step is to take this assembly and drop that in the main hole there, the cylinder through that hole there, and a small drive shaft at the bottom into that hole there, which, as I said before, that has the spring in it. So I'll just actually offer that up to that. I'll put that in that hole there, drop that over the cylinder, and get this down the bottom and snap on, and I've got finger pressure on that, and everything's sitting there beautifully. What I do now is grab the main screw posts, pop that one on the top and the one at the bottom, and I'll just tighten those up. And the reason why they are so long is to accommodate for a door thickness of 35 to 48 millimeters. I'll just tighten those up. One thing too, when you install the lock, don't over tighten these first up. Just get them so that they're snug, like what I'm doing here. I'll just finish this top one. So that's just snug in place. Make sure that that is parallel to the door edge. But before proceeding any further, grab the key. Just pop the key in there. Yes, that's fine. That's fine. Push the privacy button. Check the outside. Yep, that's correct. That kicks off beautifully. Lock it. Yes, the handle's fully locked. Check the outside. Yeah, I can pull the latch back. Yes, I can lock it. Yep, that's all fine. So, all the functions work properly. I'll just repeat that for you. So, there's passage mode. There's privacy mode, which is locked on the outside but can kick off from the inside. And then grabbing the key, I can fully lock both handles. Yep, that's perfect. I'm very happy with that. So I can now proceed, having checked that, those three functions, is to tighten this up properly. The next step is to apply the main outer plates, the finishing plates. And you'll notice that there are two plates. The one that I want to apply first is the one with a hole that accommodates the privacy button. So in this instance, I'll start from the inside. So it is very, very important to pick up the plate that has that hole in it to apply over the privacy button. No, it simply just goes around there, over that like that. Just locate it on the head and then snap that on, and that's the inside finished. We'll then turn around to the outside. Obviously on the outside there's no hole there because there's no privacy button sitting on the outside, so I just run that around as such, locate that on the head, and I snap that on the bottom. And that completes the installation of the new Lemaar L Series entry lock. Please refer to the Lemaar L Series entry lock product video for more information. Thank you for visiting the Lemaar website.